All right, today we're going to dive into something a little different. It's a really powerful and honestly unconventional message aimed squarely at the people of Egypt and Ethiopia. Now, this isn't your typical policy paper or a dry news report. Nope. It's a direct appeal to history, to a shared destiny, and it kicks off with a line that just perfectly sets the tone for everything else. Right? The message opens with that. It feels more like poetry than politics, and that's exactly the point. It immediately reframes the entire issue. It yanks it out of the world of modern borders and legal treaties and puts it where it belongs, in the realm of nature, of deep geologic time. It's suggesting that the river itself has an authority that's way older than any nation. So that poetic opening, it's not just for show. It leads us straight to the core idea of the message, that the Nile isn't some resource to be fought over and divided up. It's the very force that created an ancient, natural partnership between these two great civilizations in the first place. I mean, just look at this timeline. We're talking about a shared history, a relationship that was basically symbiotic for thousands of years. Think about it. One land guarded the source of the water, the rains in the highlands, and the other nurtured one of the world's greatest civilizations downstream. It was never about dominance or submission, but about a natural balance that allowed both to flourish. Okay, so that's the long, stable history. What happened? How did we get to this point of anxiety and tension? Well, the message argues that this is a distinctly modern problem. It's a crisis of trust. It's as if politics came along and took this huge, broad, historical relationship and squeezed it into this tiny, narrow, fearful dispute. And this slide, wow, it really nails this central mismatch here. The argument is that the tools of modern politics are just wrong for this problem. They're the wrong tool for the job. Politics wants to simplify something that is deeply complex. It divides what has always been united. And, this is critical, it invites outsiders into what is, at its heart, an internal family affair. And it goes even deeper. The source claims that these external voices have actually made everything worse. See, when you ignore your own history, your own internal wisdom, you create a vacuum. And what rushes in to fill that empty space? Fear, mistrust. And it just drowns out that shared understanding that has existed for centuries. So, if the old ways aren't working, what's the alternative? This brings us to the real heart of the message, a call for a very different and, a much braver kind of solution. The message actually pauses here to ask this question directly. Before just giving an answer, it forces you to stop and think, what does real action even look like in a situation that feels so completely stuck? And the answer, interestingly, starts by rejecting the entire conventional diplomatic playbook. The source is crystal clear on this. This moment does not need more outside mediators, it doesn't need more international pressure, and it definitely doesn't need more public statements for the cameras. It argues those tools, they're actually part of the problem. So, what's the solution? It's almost shockingly simple. It says the president of Egypt and the prime minister of Ethiopia need to sit down in a room together, alone. No scripts, no aides whispering in their ear, no cameras. And get this, it's not for a negotiation. It's for an honest conversation, aimed at rebuilding that fundamental human trust. And the message is really specific about what kind of bravery this takes. It's not about tough speeches or military posturing. It calls it civilizational courage. What does that even mean? It means thinking on a massive historical scale, understanding that you are a custodian of this ancient relationship, acting for generations yet to come. You see where this is all pointing, right? The core conviction of this message is that the answer has to be an inward solution. It can't be imported from Washington or Brussels. It has to be found in Cairo and Addis Ababa, the very two capitals the Nile has always connected. And you might ask, why should this work? Because the foundations are already there. I mean, we're talking about two of the oldest civilizations on Earth. They have deep religious bonds and inescapable geography. Plus, they share a future that is absolutely going to be defined by climate stress and population growth, challenges they can only, and I mean only, face together. And building on that shared foundation, the message lays out a really practical vision. We're talking about energy cooperation, water coordination, trade, infrastructure, even joint planning for the droughts and floods we all know are coming. And the key point is that these aren't concessions. They are vital investments in shared survival and shared prosperity. This all connects back to a piece of wisdom our ancestors understood instinctively. You don't fight a force of nature like the Nile. You don't try to defeat it. You learn to manage it, together. You align your civilizations with its reality, I mean, that's literally how these great societies were built along its banks in the first place. And that brings us to the conclusion of the message, which frames this whole moment just perfectly. It's both an inheritance from a deep, long past and a critical choice about the future. Now, this part is so important. The message doesn't pick a side, it validates both realities. It says directly to the Egyptian people, your concern is real. Your absolute dependence on this water is a fact. And it says directly to the Ethiopian people, your right to development, to pursue dignity, is just and undeniable. The real insight here is that these two truths don't cancel each other out, they actually create the very conditions that demand a higher, wiser form of leadership. And it all comes down to this final, powerful appeal. The river has been the constant, the life-giving force for millennia. It has fulfilled its role. The responsibility now shifts to its children to act with that same kind of wisdom. Which leaves us with this final thought to chew on. In a world that's so focused on complex geopolitics, on international law, on high-tech engineering, this message is betting on something else entirely. It's betting that a solution rooted in ancient wisdom and direct human trust might just be the most powerful tool of all. A really provocative idea to end on.
If this video gave you a new perspective on the Nile dispute, do me a favor and share this video so we can change the conversation around this issue. If you want to keep exploring the realities behind global headlines, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. See you next with another deep dive.